Okay, so here we go. Let's work with paragraph 2. This is the first body paragraph. And I was going to approach the first issue of safety. So here we go. I'm going to take this reason and turn it into a topic sentence. All right, so first, okay, so this is the way I chose to phrase it. So I just kind of keep this, again, plan of attack. I just sort of keep that somewhere that I can see it so I don't forget, what I had. So this is what I mean by these can be your reasons, and your reasons can turn into your topic sentences. Sometimes I just think we get way too stressed out about topic sentences. So sorry, dog's doing things here. So if we can keep them um, in the form of here's my reason, this is going to turn into my topic sentence, then it's kind of a smooth transition, and it's just kind of an easier plan. So as an example, so first, high school students should be given a moderate amount of privacy and freedom in order to protect them from harm. So notice the connection to the thesis. Notice we are having a direct connection to that thesis. We have not left it behind. This is a reason, it's an idea, it's not a fact. Someone could disagree with it. Just like your thesis, someone should really be able to disagree with your topic sentence. You just have to make sure it does support the thesis. So that's your topic sentence. Body paragraph first layer is the topic sentence. And then you want to explain that. So I'm going to put explain, and then that's going to be in about 1 to 2 sentences. It could be even 3, but you want to explain this. Why, right? That's where you explain why, the how, why, whatever form it takes. But in this case, I would say it'd be why. Why should they be given a moderate amount of privacy and freedom in order to protect them from harm? Because you might want to, if it were me writing this, right, I might want to say that while students don't need or shouldn't have complete freedom, they do need some protection because there are safety concerns. There are criminals and predators and scary people out there, right? That sort of thing. So we might want to mention that there needs to be some protection, some guidance, that sort of thing for safety, right? So we would explain that in about 1 to 2 sentences, and then you want to give your evidence or example. So this is where you would put in the evidence from if you have looked up some statistics, some facts, something like that. That's where you would put that in. This is also if you have some kind of a real life example and you want to put that in, you could do that. In this case, so I would probably use an example where like there was some potential situation, but the parents were around, so it was, not tragic. Or, of course, you could use a tragic situation, but something that shows that there is a need for safety and that adequate supervision can be a prevention to protect students and keep them safe, but this is moderate, that this is not overly strict, this is not overly restrictive, just a moderate, reasonable amount, and how that's like the best way that we are advising. So I did mention that you need to deal with the opposition. You might do it here. So, for example, how can you do that in the paragraph while still supporting your view? Here's one way you could do it. Let's say you've done this in the paragraph. You have that topic sentence, you've explained it, you have evidence and example. You might say something like this. You might say, while some may argue that the safest plan would be to have constant supervision for teenagers. In fact, a reasonable approach something like this. So again, this is doing this in the same paragraph where you would do something like this. So again, you've got your topic sentence. I'm going to just read through it again to kind of refocus. First, high school students should be given a moderate amount of privacy and freedom in order to protect them from harm. Then we explain that in 1 to 2 sentences. We give our evidence and example. This is also about 1 to 2 sentences. Could even be 3. Actually, probably 3. I'm going to say 2 to 3. Then, in the same paragraph, to deal with your opposition, you might say something like this. While some may argue, not you, some may argue. So that's the other people, the people that disagree with you, right? So we're not calling them names. We have a spirit of goodwill, but we're saying while some may argue. Okay, so while some may argue that the safest plan would be to have constant supervision for teenagers, in fact, a more reasonable approach is often more effective. Okay, so I'm addressing their concerns. I'm saying that they may argue this, right? And you're treating their concern as legitimate. That's very, very important. You are not belittling their concern in any way. You are treating it as a legitimate concern. And then what you can do is you can either seek to meet their needs in some way by fixing a problem, so to speak, or you can show that that is a reasonable concern, but yours is more compelling for some reason. I also want to point something else out as the phrasing. In fact, for teenagers, in fact, a more reasonable approach is often more effective. So notice I said often. So you want to stay away from absolute phrasing. So if I just said is more effective, like always more effective, well, we don't know that it's always more effective. Like there's always going to be, some people that do it this way and other people that do it a different way, and people are individuals, right? So things are not always going to be the way we envision them to be. Some things work for some people, other things work for other people. You have to allow for variance among people and variance among experience. So you want to avoid absolute phrasing like always and never. You just stay away from that in argument writing because it's you have to allow for that variance. All right. So in fact, a more reasonable approach is often more effective. I would explain why. Again, this is going to be a longer paragraph if you're dealing with the opposition, 1 to 2 sentences, and then give some evidence. And the evidence could be an example. It could be a specific solution to the problem, whatever works, right? So it might be an example of in this case, why a specific example of why offering this moderate amount might actually be more effective, because maybe sometimes people just don't like to be controlled, so that they might kind of do the opposite because they feel like they're being controlled. So you might, like, if you ever had that experience or knew someone who did, you could give that example, something like that. If you have some facts in there, you could do that. I'm going to try to talk a little bit about specific solution to a problem. I don't know if I can think of it for this scenario, but I can tell you that with this exact paper, I had a student that chose online, and I think she chose the age group was like middle school age group. And she was arguing for a moderate amount of freedom and privacy online for this age group. And she rightly assessed, I think, that her opposition would be parents that wanted them to have less privacy because they were worried about them online and very concerned. So what she did is she offered a solution to the problem. She assessed that the parents may not be as tech savvy really as the kids, and they were really afraid of what could happen online. And so what she did was she explained very specifically how to set certain controls on the computer that would restrict various websites and things like that, as a solution to the problem of offering that moderate amount, by telling specifically how to set those controls. In the article Connected and Protected, they offer a lot of specific information about apps and things that do that exact thing that I'm speaking of. So like if you wanted to take that approach, you could even quote from the article. All right. So that would be one way of dealing with the opposition. If you're dealing with the opposition in a separate paragraph because it just doesn't seem to fit in any of the body paragraphs, you can definitely do that, but you need to have your own topic sentence that still supports your thesis and then go, into a while some may argue. That's not the only phrasing, it's just one, but it can be very effective. All right, let's go. We've done safety, so I'm going to tackle confidence next for this one. All right, so I'm going to erase this. And it doesn't want to erase, but I'm determined, right? So here we go. Okay, so next we're going to tackle our next reason, which I have listed here as confidence. And I guess I wish I could have gotten your ideas if we were together in class. I would do that. All right, so next, this is now paragraph 3. And I explained this in the previous video, but I'm going to make a note of it here. Just please note the transition word I'm using. You can use a variety of different transition words or phrases. There are a lot that you can choose from. For writers' workshops, I consistently stick with first, second, and finally, because I like the consistency, and I think they're good words. So we're doing first, second, and finally, but it's very important, whatever transition words or phrases you use, that you use transition words and phrases. Again, they merge your reader into your point. So it's organizationally necessary to do that, because then otherwise they're looking for that. They're looking for that structure. They're looking for that merging. It's like a frontage road. These guys are like a frontage road. You're on the frontage road, you got to merge into your point, right? Just like you're merging onto the freeway. So really important. They're little words. They tend to get forgotten about sometimes because they're so little, but they're very, very essential. So first, second, and finally, you could do all numerical, first, second, third. You could do next, in addition, furthermore, moreover. for contrast, however, right? Things like that. But you definitely need those transitional words. All right. And before your example, before your evidence, for example, for instance, specifically as an illustration, but have that signal phrase because, again, to the reader, it means, oh, here comes the example. To you as a writer, it means here I need to put in the example, so it keeps you from forgetting to do that because sometimes we forget. All right, so second, oh, I'm going to rephrase that. I'm just, I changed my mind as I was in operation here. Okay, so here we go. So I have second, by offering teens a moderate amount of privacy. Again, that connection to the thesis, students can learn confidence. All right, so you could say could build their confidence or something like that, but this is fine. So learn confidence, explain that. Again, this is one sentence. This is probably 2 to 3 to explain and 2 to 3 for your evidence. I forgot to talk about the analysis. You need your analysis. I got so into dealing with the opposition in the last one, I forgot about the analysis. Okay, so let me talk about that now. So layers. Got our topic sentence, one sentence. We've got our explanation, 2 to 3 sentences. We've got our evidence, 2 to 3 sentences. Your analysis, 2 to 3 sentences. If you're dealing with the opposition, I would do it after that. But, I mean, you can switch it sometimes. It really depends on your phrasing. You could do the opposition first and then analyze the whole thing all together at the end. That could work very well, actually. But this gives you an example. I mean, again, there are times where the topic sentence might not be the first sentence. It could be the second. Often that can work out. But I just want to give you this very traditional standard model because what I find at this level of critical thinking is that we're doing a lot of critical thinking and we're really analyzing and thinking deeply about the issues, and we're putting that piece in, and sometimes we just start losing the essay structure, but we can't lose it. So I'm just, if you're someone that found that has happened to you before, or like a lot of folks just kind of really struggling to remember how to do those topic sentences, I suggest putting it first because then you know it's there and then you can just march on from there. So again, here's our topic sentence. It's just your reason. You've got your explanation. You've got your evidence next. For example, right? For instance. And then your analysis. Again, the analysis, just your focused thoughts on the issue, kind of like your philosophy on this issue, right? So just 2 or 3 sentences about that. It kind of wraps it up. All right, and then so we did that, and then we're going to go on to the next, very next reason, which is our next topic sentence. So I'm going to erase this. I'm going to see how my little cleaner step works here. And this would be paragraph 4. Okay, so now, here we go, paragraph 4. something like this. Finally, by oh, peekaboo, where'd I go? Finally, by giving students reasonable amounts of privacy, these teenagers can build their real world skills. So that was our third reason. Check, check. Got that right. That's our topic sentence. I would, again, that's one sentence. I would explain 2 to 3. I would give my example or evidence 2 to 3. I'm going to try to erase a little bit more. I wasn't sure how much I needed. So there that goes. This whiteboard's getting a workout today. So, all right. So example or evidence. It could be facts. That's fine. And then your analysis. All 2 to 3 sentences ish. All right. So finally, again, this is my favorite transition word. Because it's like, finally, it sounds so important, right? Finally, I get to this really important point, and to the reader, it says, like, this is really important. To the writer, it's like, finally, I am almost done. This is my last body paragraph, right? So, finally, by giving students reasonable amounts of privacy, these teenagers can build their real world skills, right? So that's our last reason. It's our last topic sentence, last body paragraph. Then we explain that's only one sentence. Topic sentence is always one sentence. Then the explanation, 2 to 3 sentences. Example, 2 to 3 sentences. Evidence, it's going away. Evidence, example is the same thing. Example, little story that illustrates that point. Or evidence, it could also be facts that you have looked up, that sort of thing, and your analysis in 2 to 3 sentences. All right, so that's our overview. And now I want to talk about the conclusion. So I'm going to erase this. This would normally be paragraph 5 unless you have that extra body paragraph that you put the opposition in there, which is okay. It's fine. All right, so now let me talk about the conclusion. So the conclusion is you need to do a couple things. You need to touch back on the thesis. You need to give closure. And you need to not give any new information. So let's talk about that. So conclusion, touch back on your thesis. Go back to your thesis, kind of say it again, but not in the same words. You don't want to rerun, but you just want to re-emphasize the point that you are trying to make. This is your last chance to remind your reader of your point, so you want to re-emphasize that. Give some closure, wrap it up. No cliffhangers. It shouldn't be kind of come to a screeching halt. No, don't do that, right? Or they're just like, I think it's done. There's no more anything here, right? No, that's super confusing. Don't do that. So you want to wrap it up. It should come to a satisfying end, and you need to touch back on the thesis, wrap it up, give closure. No new info, no new information in the conclusion. This is not the time to give a new example. This is not the time for that breaking news. Wait, this just in. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's super confusing for your reader, right? You don't want to go, well, but then, on the other hand, I did just read that. No, don't do that. Don't disagree with your thesis. That's very confusing for the reader. So don't do that. You can choose to summarize your topic sentences. That is an option. Summarize topic sentences. Okay, and I'm going to put option. It's an option. You don't have to do that, but it can be very effective. So, you might consider that. The other thing is that you can offer a final thought. It has to be not a new thought, but just, it's kind of the same idea. Not new. Wait, what did I just put new? Okay, so final thought. Option. This is an option. Okay, final thought just means that it's consistent with the thesis, but it's just kind of what I call getting to the heart of the matter. What is underneath this? Why is this so important? It's your last chance to remind your reader of that. So that's something that you could do. How long should this all be? About probably 4 to 10 sentences for the conclusion as well. So what we're going to do for the conclusion, I want you to work your conclusion muscles. I want you to get in the practice mode of this before you have to do it for your real paper, which is coming up. So what I'd like you to do is to write a conclusion for this writer's workshop. So you are going to write a conclusion for this intro that we did today. So not your real paper. I don't need that conclusion. I need a conclusion for this. Even if you totally disagree with it, that no matter. It's still good practice, right? So you'll see that in the assignment category. I will put that in there. But I'm so because I'm asking you to do that, I am going to go back to this intro and read it again. Whoa, I think I am. All right, let's take the whiteboard down. That probably would help. Okay, here we go. Here's our intro again. So I'm going to read over it again. And so your conclusion should touch back on the thesis, touch back on the intro. It should match. Your intro and conclusion should always match. It's a good idea to read your paper over before you turn it in, of course, because you can catch things that would you might not have caught if you didn't read it over. But you should also always read your intro and then your conclusion. Make sure they match. All right, so here we go. It says, recently, parents, educators, and students have been debating about whether or not high school students should have supervision as they navigate throughout their communities. While some parents and teachers argue that teenagers should be supervised all or much of the time for safety and guidance, many teenagers argue that they are responsible and should be allowed the freedom to explore the world without always being under the watchful eyes of adults. In fact, while parents are naturally concerned about their children, in most cases teenagers from 14 to 17 here's our organic part, can benefit from a moderate amount of privacy and freedom in their day-to-day lives. Okay, flip through here. By high school, students should have the opportunity to go to school and to activities independently, but should also be required to check in with parents at regular intervals and should adhere to reasonable curfews. By having a moderate amount of privacy and freedom, high school students can develop independence and agency while still having their parents available for guidance. In order to both protect high school students and allow them to grow into functioning adults, these students should have a reasonable amount of privacy and freedom from adults. I'm going to read the thesis again. In order to both protect high school students and allow them to grow into functioning adults, these students should have a reasonable amount of privacy and freedom from adults. All right, so that's the model. Again, you will take your own view in your real paper, and you will see the homework for the conclusion. And again, it's short. It's just a conclusion to match this. But I think doing so will really exercise those muscles. So that's why I like you to do that. In addition, I will also put this in on Canvas, but I do want you to, with the skills that we have now in computers where we can highlight with on the computer with different colors and such, I would like you to highlight your thesis statement in paragraph 1, and I want you to highlight each topic sentence in your body paragraph. So how much highlighting do I need? 1 sentence per paragraph, nothing highlighted in the conclusion. You get to pick the color. I don't care if it's the same color. I don't care if it's different colors. But I think doing this forces you to go, that's my thesis statement. I'm committed to it. I know it's there. That's my topic sentence for paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4. I have a topic sentence in each one. Otherwise, I think sometimes we go, Please let them be there. Let those thesis statements and topic sentences be there. We don't want to do that. We want to be strategic. And so I think this can help you to be a little more strategic on that. I hope this writer's workshop was helpful. I really enjoyed doing that. Please do contact me if you have questions, though. I'd be happy to go over your paper ideas with you, or clear up any confusion or anything like that. So office hours are Mondays and Thursdays. Didn't have them this Monday because it was Labor Day, but I have them Thursday coming up here. So that's the one that you don't have to make an appointment. It's from 11:30 to 12:30. You could just call or text, and we will chat in that way. If I'm with another student talking or something, I will get to you just as soon as I can. But you can also make an appointment, and then we'll just schedule something for whatever's convenient, and we can go over the paper that way if you would like. All right, thank you so much. This was really fun, and I hope it was helpful.